If the debt grows too much, the land becomes mine.
Have you ever made a decision simply because you were afraid? Afraid of falling behind, afraid of losing what you had worked so hard to keep. Sometimes, fear speaks so loudly that it sounds like wisdom. This is the story of Mama Ngozi, a woman who almost lost everything because she couldn't wait just a little longer. Not for the rain, not for the harvest, and certainly not for God's timing. Many years ago, in the quiet village of Umuoji, lived a widow's daughter named Ngozi. People simply called her Mama Ngozi. She wasn't the richest woman in the village. She wasn't the strongest either, but she owned something she treasured more than anything else. A small piece of farmland her late mother had left her. It wasn't much. Still, every time she stood on that soil, she smiled. "This land fed my mother," she would often say. "It will feed my children too." Every season she planted with hope. Every harvest, she thanked God for whatever the land produced. But this year was different. Very different. 2 years earlier, her husband, Emeka, had fallen seriously ill. To pay for his treatment, they borrowed money from the wealthiest man in Umuoji, Chief Okonji. Emeka recovered, but the debt remained. Every harvest season, Chief Okonji sent his eldest son to collect part of whatever Mama Ngozi harvested. If the harvest was poor, the debt became bigger, and everyone in the village knew the warning Chief Okonji had given.
If the debt grows too much, the land becomes mine.
Mama Ngozi never forgot those words, not even for a day.
I am going now, Mama Ngozi.
Go well, Emeka. May God protect you.
Adaize, be a good girl, okay?
Life became a careful balancing act. Her husband now worked as a bricklayer in the next town. He came home only on weekends. Their daughter, Adaize, had just turned 12, bright, curious, the kind of child who always asked one question after another. Sometimes it made her mother laugh. Sometimes it made her think. After school every afternoon, Adaize would run straight to the farm, not because anyone forced her. She simply loved working beside her mother. Their closest neighbor was a man named Obiora. Now Obiora knew farming. Nobody could deny that. Year after year, his barn stayed full. At Christmas, his children always wore brand new clothes. People admired him. Some even tried copying everything he did, and every single year, Obiora planted before everyone else, long before the rains arrived. Whenever people questioned him, he would chuckle. "If you wait for everybody, you'll sell with everybody. But if you plant first, you harvest first." It sounded sensible, especially to people carrying heavy burdens, like Mama Ngozi. One evening, she stood outside her hut watching Obiora clear his field. She folded her arms. Maybe he was right. Maybe she had been too careful all these years. Maybe waiting was the reason the debt refused to disappear. Adaize noticed the look on her mother's face.
Mama, why were you looking at Uncle Biaru's farm earlier today?
I'm thinking.
About what?
I think this year I'll plant early.
Before the rain?
Yes.
But don't we always wait?
My daughter, waiting hasn't cleared our debt.
Are you sure?
I have to try something different.
For 3 straight days, she worked beneath the scorching sun. The soil was hard, dry. Every strike of her hoe sent dust into the air. By evening, her palms had blistered, her back burned with pain. Still, she kept planting. Each seed she dropped into the dry earth carried the same prayer. "Lord, let this work." One afternoon, Obiora looked across the boundary between their farms. He laughed.
So you finally joined us.
We'll see whose harvest comes first.
That's the spirit.
1 week passed, no rain. Another week passed, still nothing. Every morning before sunrise, Mama Ngozi walked to her field. She knelt, touched the soil, then looked up at the sky. Nothing, just heat, dry wind, and empty blue skies. By the third week, her heart had become heavier than the basket she carried. She prayed, she waited, she hoped, but the heavens remained silent. Even Obiora's farm looked no different, though whenever anyone asked, he simply waved his hand. It'll rain. It always does. Don't worry. Mama Ngozi wanted to believe him. She really did, but something deep inside her wouldn't let her rest. Then one morning, dust rose along the village road. A horse stopped in front of her compound.
Mama Ngozi.
It was Chief Okonji's eldest son.
You are welcome.
Earlier than anyone expected.
My father sent me. He heard the rains are delaying. He wants to know how the farms are looking. I'll return.
That evening, when Emeka returned from town, he found his wife sitting outside, her food untouched.
Ngozi, what happened?
I planted too early.
What do you mean?
She told him everything.
Tomorrow, go and see Mama Adaeze.
The old woman.
She has farmed this land longer than anyone I know.
She has seen seasons we've only heard stories about. If anyone can help you, it's her.
At first light, Mama Ngozi wrapped her scarf around her head and walked to the edge of the village. Mama Adaeze lived alone in a small mud house surrounded by mango trees and beautiful medicinal shrubs. Her compound was quiet, neat, simple. Just by her door, the old woman stood waiting as if she had nowhere else to be.
I've been expecting you.
You have?
When worry becomes too heavy, it always brings people here. Come, sit.
For a while, the only sound between them was the rustling of palm leaves overhead. Then Mama Ngozi began. She told the whole story, not just about the planting, but about the debt, the fear, the sleepless nights, the shame of copying Obiora, and the visit from Chief Okonji's son. When she finally stopped talking, she realized the old woman hadn't interrupted once.
Ngozi, tell me something. When you planted those seeds, were you following the season? I don't know. Were you? No. What were you following? My fear. Look out there. What do you see? Dry land. And the sky? Clear. Exactly. You were watching Chief Okonji when you should have been watching the sky. I don't understand.
My daughter, the land doesn't answer fear, it answers season. You can beg this soil, you can cry over it, you can even threaten it. It still won't grow anything until it's ready. The same is true for many things in life. I only wanted to protect my family, I know. And that isn't wrong. But fear is a terrible farmer. It always wants to harvest before planting. But what do I do now? My seeds are already in the ground. They're probably dying. And Chief Okonji, one problem at a time. You cannot fix in one morning what fear created over 3 weeks. So what should I do? Watch. The sky will tell you when it's time. Not your fear, the sky.
Mama Ngozi left without a grand solution. No miracle, no special prayer, no secret farming trick. Just a sentence she couldn't stop thinking about. Watch the sky, not your fear. 4 days passed. Then, something changed. The air felt different. The wind became cooler. Birds flew lower across the fields. Old men sitting beneath the Iroko tree stopped their games and looked east. Children pointed excitedly. Dark clouds, real clouds. Not the kind that drifted away before sunset. These were heavy, slow, certain. That evening, the first drop of rain struck the roof of Mama Ngozi's hut. Then another, and another. Soon, the heavens opened. Rain poured through the night. Not for minutes, for hours. The dry earth drank deeply. Every farmer in Umuoji smiled. Some even stepped outside and lifted their faces to the sky, laughing like children. Mama Ngozi folded her hands. Thank you, Lord. Before sunrise, she hurried to her farm. Her heart raced with hope. Maybe, just maybe, the rain had come in time. She knelt, brushed away the wet soil. Then she froze. The seeds hadn't survived. Weeks beneath dry ground had already destroyed most of them. She searched row after row. Nothing, only a few near the edge of the field still showed signs of life. She sat down in the mud. For a long time, she didn't move. She cried quietly, not because she was weak, but because sometimes even strong people run out of strength. As she wiped her face, Mama Adesi's words returned. The land doesn't answer fear. It answers season. Mama Ngozi took a slow breath. She looked around her field again, then up at the sky. The rain had stopped, but the clouds remained. Instead of rushing to plant again immediately, she waited. Just one more day, to let the soil settle, to let the water sink deep into the earth. It wasn't easy. Every hour felt like another risk. But this time, she wasn't acting from panic. She was acting from patience. Not everyone made the same choice. Obiora rushed back to his farm the moment the rain ended. Without resting the soil, he planted again, fast, carelessly. His only thought was catching up. He wanted to be first again, as always. Some villagers even praised him. That's the Obiora we know. Always ahead, Mama Ngozi heard them. She simply smiled to herself. This time, she wasn't looking at Obiora. She was watching the sky. The next morning, she and Adaeze returned to the farm.
Mama, what if this isn't enough? We'll plant what we have and trust God with what we don't. I like that.
Mother and daughter began again. Not hurried, not afraid, just steady. One row at a time. The days that followed were not easy. The rain had finally come, but rain alone could not replace the seeds Mama Ngozi had already lost. Emeka began coming home more often. It meant losing a day's wages now and then. Even so, he never complained. Together, they pulled weeds, loosened the soil, checked each young plant for insects. Sometimes they worked without saying a word. Other times, Adaeze filled the quiet with questions. One Saturday, as they rested beneath a tree, Mama Ngozi looked at him.
You've missed work because of me.
No, I came home because of us.
I'm sorry.
For what?
For making this harder.
Ngozi, when we stood before God on our wedding day, I don't remember promising to help you only when life was easy.
Thank you.
Little by little, the farm began to change. Tender green shoots pushed through the soil. The leaves grew broader each week. The yam vines climbed steadily. The vegetables looked healthy, not because they had grown quickly, but because they had grown well. Each morning, Mama Ngozi walked through the rows, gently brushing her fingers across the leaves. She no longer searched the sky with panic. She simply thanked God for another day. Just beyond the footpath, Obiora's farm told a different story. From a distance, it looked impressive. There were plenty of plants, but the closer people looked, the more they noticed something wasn't right. Some crops were growing too quickly. Others lagged behind. A few had begun to yellow before their time. The uneven planting had left the field confused. Even Obiora noticed. Still, he refused to admit it. "It'll be fine," he kept saying. "It always works out." But this time, his voice carried less confidence. One evening, the village elders gathered beneath the old Iroko tree. As farmers often did, they spoke about the season.
The rains fooled everyone this year. I've never seen anything like it. Even Obiora struggled. The land teaches every farmer eventually, no matter how clever he thinks he is.
Weeks rolled by. Soon, the first signs of harvest appeared. The yams beneath the soil had grown thick. The vegetables were full and bright. Finally, Harvest Festival arrived. It was the busiest day of the year in Umuoji. From sunrise, families streamed toward the village square. Children ran between the stalls. Women arranged baskets of peppers, vegetables, and yams. Men greeted one another with laughter and handshakes. Traders from neighboring villages filled the market. Everyone hoped to return home with good money. Mama Ngozi looked at her harvest before leaving. It wasn't the biggest. She knew that. She tied the baskets carefully. Emeka lifted the heavier ones. Adaeze carried the smallest basket proudly. As they walked through the village, whispers followed them. "Isn't that Mama Ngozi? The one who planted too early? I heard most of her seeds died. I wonder what she even has left." Mama Ngozi heard every word, but she kept walking, head held high. Obiora arrived not long after. His cart was larger. His harvest looked more impressive from a distance. Some villagers smiled. "There he is!" The best farmer in Umuoji, Obiora waved confidently, though inside, he wasn't nearly as certain as he appeared. One by one, buyers began inspecting the harvests. They picked up vegetables, pressed yams with their thumbs, checked for bruises, looked for signs of disease. The village grew unusually quiet. Within minutes, other buyers gathered around her stall. Not because she had the biggest harvest, because she had the healthiest, fresh, strong, well-grown. Word spread quickly through the market. Meanwhile, Obiora watched in disbelief. Buyers inspected his crops. Some frowned, others quietly shook their heads.
This produce has a soft spot. I can only give you half price for these.
One buyer simply walked away. Obiora stared at his harvest. Only then did he see what everyone else had seen. Speed had filled his barn, but patience had grown better crops. By sunset, Mama Ngozi had sold every basket. She counted the money once, then again. Her hands trembled. Just
Mama
then,
Ngozi.
a familiar voice called from across the square.
My father said, your debt is finished.
No one will come for this land again. You have paid everything.
Thank you, Lord. God, you have done it. Yes, we are free. Thank you, Jesus.
The walk home felt different that evening, not because the road had changed, but because the weight on Mama Ngozi's shoulders was gone. For 2 long years, every step she took had been shadowed by one thought. What if we lose the land? Now, that fear had finally come to an end. The debt was gone, the land was still theirs, and for the first time in a very long while, Mama Ngozi slept peacefully. A few days later, the village became quiet again. The market stalls disappeared. The visitors returned to their own towns. Life slowly settled into its familiar rhythm. One morning, Mama Ngozi was sweeping her compound when she heard someone call her name.
I heard you cleared your debt. I'm happy for you.
Thank you. It was a long journey, but it's done.
You know, I thought I had farming all figured out. I've spent years telling people to copy me. This year, I nearly ruined my own farm. I suppose we both learned something.
Yes, we did.
Next planting season, I think I'll spend less time watching other farmers and more time watching the sky.
I think that's a good idea.
Goodbye, Mama Ngozi.
Safe travels.
As he walked away, she whispered a quiet prayer for him, because sometimes the greatest harvest isn't the one that fills your barn, it's the one that changes your heart. The seasons came and went, the Harmattan winds arrived, then faded. The first rains returned once again, just as they always had. Only this time, things were different. When the first farmers hurried into their fields, Mama Ngozi didn't rush. She woke before sunrise, stepped outside her hut, and looked toward the eastern sky. The clouds weren't ready, so neither was she. Some villagers
The
whispered,
planting season has begun.
Why is she not planting yet?
She watches the sky.
maybe she's afraid after last year. Mama Ngozi simply smiled. People didn't know what she knew now. Waiting wasn't always weakness. Sometimes, waiting was wisdom. A few days later, the rain finally came. Not a brief shower, not a passing drizzle, a steady rain that soaked the earth from morning until night. The next day, Mama Ngozi walked into her field carrying a basket of seeds. Adaizi skipped beside her. She had grown taller over the past year, still curious, still full of questions.
Mama, how do you know today is the right day?
Because the ground is ready.
And if we'd planted yesterday?
But we'd have been planting for ourselves. But today, we're planting with the season.
Years passed. Children who had once followed their parents to the fields became farmers themselves. Whenever a planting season drew near, someone would always ask,
When should we begin planting? Go and ask Mama Ngozi.
She never claimed to know everything. Whenever people came seeking advice, she simply told them the story. The story of the year fear spoke louder than wisdom. The story of the harvest that almost never came. And the lesson she could never forget. That evening, Mama Ngozi sat outside her home with Emeka and Adaiz. The sun was setting behind the hills.
Mama, I'm glad we didn't lose Grandma's land.
So am I. You know, I used to think farming was mostly about strength. Now,
I think it's mostly about timing and trust.
and trust.
Mama Ngozi lifted her eyes toward the sky. A gentle smile spread across her face. She finally understood something she had spent years trying to control. Not every delay is a denial. Sometimes, God is preparing the ground before He grows the harvest. And if you plant too soon, you may mistake His preparation for His absence. Maybe you're watching this today because you're tired of waiting for a job, waiting for healing, waiting for an answer to a prayer, waiting for a door to open. It's tempting to rush ahead, just to feel like you're doing something. But remember, Mama Ngozi, fear told her to hurry, wisdom taught her to wait. And in the end, it wasn't the fastest farmer who found peace. It was the one who learned to trust the right season. If this story encouraged you, share it with someone who may need the reminder that waiting is not always wasted. Sometimes the greatest blessings grow in the soil of patience. The end.